Welcome to the Trap House Podcast. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe on all social media platforms. And now a quick word about our sponsors. We have Duke Traps with us. Check out duketraps.com. They manufacture over 40 different models of cage traps, coil and long springs, and body gripping style traps, as well as one of my personal favorites, the powder-coated dog proofs. Check out duketraps.com. Need a place to sell your fur? Check out Groenwald Fur and Wool Company. Over 50 years in the fur business, the largest and most experienced direct receiver of wild fur in the world. Check out their website, gfwco.com. Top Lot Stretcher Company. They have all the fur processing tools you need to get the job done in the fur shed. From push pins to wooden stretchers, they got you covered. Check out toplotstretcherco.com. And this one's for the ladies that don't mind getting their hands a little dirty setting some traps. We have Trapping Girl Inc. with us. Check out their website, trappinggirlinc.com. They have a great selection of women's apparel, kids apparel, baits and lures, and trapping supplies. Check out trappinggirlinc.com. J3 Outdoors. They make American trapping products designed for maximum trapline efficiency with products like the Hags Bracket and Spring Clip, as well as the Universal Lock and Beaver Rod ends. Get the tools you need to get the job done. Find out more at j3o.com. And there's only one true way to start out the day on the trap line, and that's with a hot cup of coffee from Trapline Coffee. They have great tasting blends to choose from, as well as chocolates. Head over to traplinecoffee.com for more. Weeby Knives. Check out weebyknives.com. They have a great selection of skinning knives, fleshing knives, fur handling tools, and they'll give you the edge you need to get the job done, and you guessed it, they're wicked sharp. Check out weebyknives.com. And we'd like to welcome the newest sponsor to the team, No BS Lures. Don't let the name fool you. There's more than just bait and lure. This company offers trapline tools and hardware, fur handling supplies, and the No BS traps. Check out nobslures.com. And last but not least, Hoosier Trapper Supply, home of the Top Dog Predator Bait, Jet Fuel Predator Lure. We offer a complete line of trapping baits and lures, deer scent, trapline tools and hardware, fur processing tools, and special package offers. Head over to HoosierTrapperSupply.com. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Trap House Podcast. We have a man with many talents on the show today. Mr. Jim Ryser's with us. I think we've talked about this in the past that we'd wanted you on, and finally the stars have aligned and you're here. So
yeah, I know. It's like, I think we were talking about doing some musical stuff because you're so into some great bluegrass and cool music that I like. I'm learning to like. I wasn't exposed to it before. And so, yeah, now I'm starting to really dig into that. And then here we are, finally.
I know. It's a long time coming.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, most people we have on the show, especially first time on, kind of how you got started, being involved with the outdoors and getting into trapping, maybe a little bit where you're from, and, you know, the whole spiel. And we can kind of dissect that, you know.
Or we can go back to day one and just,
where were you born?
So,
you know what? I was born in the rear end of the United States, Cleveland, Ohio. So
we're gonna have some people here really ticked off on this.
Oh no, every native Clevelander understands.
Yeah.
Any place that had a river that burned because it was so polluted definitely has.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah, that holds
really bad. But yeah, I'll tell you something. The love of outdoors was really almost from the get-go. You know, I was born with a really bad birth defect and had my first surgery when I was 9 days old. And then I just literally had my 62nd surgery 4 weeks ago. So I'm just now coming out of that and feeling good again. And they were, most of them were related to that original thing called spina bifida. But you know, I got involved in the outdoors when we lived in New York State. We lived in upstate New York, and my dad's best friend was a World War II veteran. And he had a Browning Sweet 16 shotgun, and that was the first shotgun I ever shot. And he was just a gun guy, you know. And my dad was a Marine, had his M1 that he used in the Corps, So we were shooters really from the crib, my sister and I. But I loved the outdoors a lot when we lived in upstate because Arnie, my dad's best friend, he would always tell World War II stories, and I was just really fascinated by that. And he had a shop. He was a tool and die maker, and he had this shop, and so it was all woods and everything out back. And so we go shoot back there, and I shot my first woodchuck there. Cried my eyes out.
Yeah.
I was maybe 13, and I had the 22, and I was waiting in, and I got the 22 out, and I shot him, and then I cried, and I was like, I'm never gonna kill anything again, And my dad's like, it's a big responsibility, son, And so I kind of was taught a lot because I was very respectful, and I was really glad that I had that. I was respectful of the outdoors and respectful of the animals, and so I had to kind of rethink that woodchuck. Like, well, if there was a cow in the field and he broke his leg, then that would save the cow. So, you know how kids are. But I was able to justify it. And then Arnie's son was a physician, and he took me out of school one day to go turkey hunting in the winter. It was a fall turkey hunt, and that was amazing. And so and that got set aside for a number of years because that's when I discovered music and pursued that. So and once the music kind of died down, for lack of a better way of saying it, and I changed careers to doing what I did for IU Health in Methodist Hospital as a drug and alcohol therapist, and ultimately a director of services. That's when the hunting bug really started. I shot my first deer out of season. I was staying with a buddy of mine down in Bloomington, and I said, I think I'm going to shoot me a deer. And I didn't know anything about it. I had the Ithaca deer slayer that Arnie gave my dad, that he gave to me. And I went out, and it was late summer, but I don't know what it was. I didn't know anything about licensing or anything like that. I was probably 25. I don't know. But, and I shot this deer.
You just went with it.
Yeah, I just went with it, shot the deer. I'm like, whoa, man, what do I do now? And we had his buddy over, and he's like trying to be real secretive. He's like, man, we could get in so much trouble for this. I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to waste him. But he taught me how to gut it, and we carved it up, and we ate it. And that was it. I was hooked from that point. I was like, oh, I gotta learn about this hunting stuff. My son-in-law Troy was ultimately the kicker on that one. He says he's a real slow talker. He says, "Hey Jim, you want to go turkey hunting?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And we both shot birds that day. My very first turkey hunt, his very first turkey hunt. He shot a bird, I shot a bird, and that was it. I've been full bore ever since. And ultimately how I got into trapping was just a direct result of hunting and trying to be conservative or being conservation focused on one of the properties that I've been leasing for deer hunting. It's like coyotes, and you gotta trap raccoons for turkey. So you learn, and you start learning, and then it's like that's how I met you guys.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what year that was when you first came in. It was like 2015, 2016. Does that sound right? 2017?
It might have been 2015 because I mean, and I can probably look on my webpage because I made that dirt hole video right after I bought my traps. Okay, the best way to learn is to teach, and the best way to teach is to learn. And you taught me so much. And then that was right when YouTube was really starting to get big for, hey, if you need to fix your sink, go to a YouTube video. Hey, if you got to learn how to set a dirt hole, go to what's a flat set? And then all of a sudden, and of course, look, man, you guys all know this. Well, the audience doesn't, but you do. I'm a recovering drug addict. So what's my drug of choice? More of everything, right? I need more traps. I need more cables. I need more lure, the whole 9 yards. But I'm in recovery now. I've been sober for over 25 years from opiates, and nobody was surprised that I got addicted, with all the surgeries and pain that I had, and coming up during the liberation of opiates. But anyway, I think that was trapping really kind of solidified everything that I love about the outdoors, because I always loved to hunt and I loved doing the turkey hunting and stuff like that. But I think I became a better woodsman once I started trapping. It changed everything. It changed how I approached deer hunting. It changed how I approached, okay, why would this trap spring here and not over there? Or why would this be a good place? And all these different things. And then you learn about creek bottoms, and then you learn about, it's just like, wow, it's just a never ending thing.
Right.
And I think what I've learned is the more I learn, the less I know.
Exactly. Well, yeah,
Yep.
exactly. I think that is definitely, you're out there every day and you're learning all this animal behavior and, like you said, locations and I've heard it on other podcasts, like most deer hunters, if that's all they do, they probably don't even know what kind of tree their tree stands in. So, and I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying, it may be with some of them, they just don't go that often, or but if it's part of your lifestyle.
It's not a way of life. It seems to be, for some of these folks, it's not a way of life, if you will.
Right.
Trapping becomes a way of life into your hunting. That becomes the way of life. Yeah. You're right.
Right. It's that lifestyle interest, that kind of, you'll think of it even in the off season. A lot of times, and you think, oh, that looks like a great location, and it might only be April or May or whatever, but you're always looking, and you're always thinking and noticing things. I think is just a big part of it. So,
I get my best deer stands never during season. Never. It's always in the summertime when I'm, changing out camera cards, or when I'm doing some maintenance on the property or whatever it is. Because, I like to keep things nice and learning in property improvement, cutting out the trees that aren't going to be conducive to feeding, and, providing areas of habitat management so that, smaller animals can get in, turkeys can do their things. And yeah, my best deer sets don't come during season. It's come from being out and observing and
paying attention.
Paying attention. Yes, indeed. And boy, I'll tell you what, as a trapper, you really got to learn to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Like having, you have to check your traps every day, so you're forced to go out in every weather condition that's imaginable, so you can really see patterns or tracks and how things move. If a skip of snow comes or whatever, you start. From the average deer hunter, probably don't pick up on that, as much what's going on out there, because there's a lot of downtime when you're not out there, and there's certainly things going on where there's a lot of people think that I'm not seeing anything, nothing's moving, and they're out there somewhere. Trust me.
Yeah,
they're doing
it's
their
moving.
thing.
Just it's not with moving where you're at.
Exactly. Or there's stuff going on when you're not there. So you're only there maybe, first thing in the morning on a Saturday, and maybe on a Sunday morning, and maybe Saturday and Sunday evenings. But the rest of the time, you're not there. There's a lot of stuff going on. So.
You bring back a great memory for me, because, and it was when I was just getting started. That first year when we trapped 14 coyotes that year. Remember? I was bringing skins in every week. Man, look, we're going to have big old coyote skins. I'm going to make a jacket. And, but I still have them. They're right in the other room. It's the game room where all my mounts and stuff are. And when the guys from Hunting Public come stay with me, Aaron always stays back there. That's his favorite place. And he puts the coyote skins over him and stays warm. And it's hilarious. But I remember going out one time, and this is when I started going, I don't know anything about this. It was snow, snow on the ground. And I saw the tracks and I followed him. Oh my God, he's going right for one of my sets. Oh, this is great. Got to the set and I saw paws all around it. And nothing got in the set. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? And the answer is absolutely nothing. The coyote just wasn't interested at that moment. He smelled it. He said, well, whatever, and away he went. And it's like, what did I do wrong? And then, well, maybe I'll put a set over on this side here, because I did see his tracks go over there. And and then, you spring them and you get them and you go, why did it work there? And then it makes, like you said, it makes you think. And yeah. And then I got my first bobcat in a trap here in Indiana last year, I think it was. I did a video on that one. because obviously we can't keep them, but letting them go. Good Lord, now I know why they call them wildcats.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And then he sat there after I freed him. He just
Yeah.
sat there looking at me like, hey, man, what's up? And I'm like, you're free, dude. You can go. Once he realized he was free, he was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what an experience that was. I mean, these are things that for me personally, they're going to last the rest of my life, those memories. That's another great thing about.
Yeah. The thing about cats is, when you catch a coyote, the majority of them are very submissive.
Yes.
They lay down and that's it. Cats, it doesn't matter if they're 5 pounds, 30 pounds, and everything in between. They are ticked off and they want to get you. I mean, there's no middle of the road.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And possums, they just sit there. You don't even know they're trapped. They're just sitting there.
I don't think they do.
No,
They don't have a very big brain. They don't even know what's going on.
no.
They haven't evolved very far. So yeah. So Jim, let's back up and you want to talk about your music career? So people my age, a little bit younger, obviously your age, are going to remember Jimmy Ryser from the early 90s, correct?
Yes. Well, it's not, some people do. Yeah. I mean, I was really surprised when I was working at IU, how many people would come up to me and say, hey, you got the same name as that singer. and I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
So yeah, people, I'm surprised at how many people, kind of remembered that. I mean, I had a nice little flash in the pan moment in 1990. Record came out over the summer and it was huge. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I heard that song on the radio. I was driving on 465 driving home, and I was in the Cloverleaf from 465 to 65. And Christy Lee announced it. She goes, "This is my little brother, Jimmy Ryser." And I'm like, oh my God. And I pulled over and I cried. I was so excited. I cry a lot. And but it was a real cool moment, and music was good to me. And I picked up music to help recover from surgeries, and I spent a lot of time in the hospital as a kid, and so music kind of helped me kind of have an outlet that was healthy until I discovered pain pills when I was 16, and then that changed everything for a while. But yeah, the music career was a fun little foray. I mean, I got to work with some amazing people. John Mellencamp's dad was one of my managers, and I was on Arista Records with Clive Davis. So I'll never forget when he listened to the demo of Same Old Look. He turned around and he says, "I think you've got hit songs, and I want to sign you to the label." And we had seen so many people that day. I didn't know how many people we were going to have to see. And we're walking out of Clive's office, and Clive goes, "That Jimmy Ryser is such a nice young man, but I don't think he knows who I am." I learned real quick who Clive Davis was, though. Yeah. So yeah, music was good to me until my health, got bad, and so I had to kind of step aside and kind of reevaluate things. And I went to school at IU and graduated top 10 out of 3,000 graduates with a Demerol and Percocet habit to beat the band. And it was it wasn't a few more years. I graduated in the winter, and the following summers when I finally said something ain't right here. I don't know what to do. I never drank alcohol, and I started drinking, and it was like something ain't right. And I went to Cleveland, and that's when I learned what addiction was. And I knew something was there. I just didn't understand, why I couldn't stay stopped. I could stop. And I've been through withdrawal a gazillion times. I mean, I don't even want to know how many times I put myself through there. But I didn't know how to stay stopped. And so the program that I went through at the Cleveland Clinic taught me that. And then, like I said, it's been 25 and a half years with no opiates. Now, obviously, I have pain meds after surgeries, but that's a whole different world than it used to be. Other people are in control of it. I actually use it the way it's prescribed. Take one every 6 hours instead of 30 every hour. So I had prescription dyslexia. Hey, 6 every 1 hour, and it says, "Do not combine with alcohol." No, I think that means you're supposed to combine it with alcohol. So I had it all messed up. But it's been a whole new world. I love being sober, and I think that the outdoors, the love that I have for the outdoors, got me into the stuff that I do now, like with the music, with the hunting public. I've written for Hoosier Trapper as well. You guys have put my music, and I love that because when I'm in the stand while I'm observing, sometimes I'm hearing tunes in my head, right? And so I want to go home and record them, and then it's like I started where it started was with Bill Winke with Midwest Whitetail.
Yeah,
and he's an archery guy. And I was into deer hunting at the time, and that was really helpful for pain management for me, was to stay in good physical shape, because I still have chronic pain. That doesn't ever go away. That's just part of life. But I've learned better ways to handle it than medicating it, and I don't medicate it. I do the outdoors thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when trapping came in, it forced me to walk. And I'm carrying that pack on my back, and that's not light. I mean, I got my shovel, I got my lures, I got my stuff, and my beaver pounder. I got all that stuff in there, and you're walking. I mean, anyway, yeah. And I'm doing all walking, and it keeps you in shape. And then setting the traps. I'm getting old, I know, but your back feels it after you've set 30 or 40 traps. You're like,
yeah, definitely.
Definitely. But that's what keeps me in shape, and it's absolutely amazing. So that's part of sobriety. They say find something that you love better than you loved drugs, and you're going to be okay. And I've got several things: music, hunting, trapping. I mean, all of these things. And I'm so fortunate and probably spoiled that Hoosier Trapper Supply was the first place I ever went to for trapping supplies, because I got the lessons, I got to learn, I didn't have to go to YouTube anymore, and that was exciting.
Yeah.
Like that time I used a 330 on the bottom for that one beaver that was not going to go anywhere near one of his bank dens, but with the bottom of the waterfall, he stepped in that, and we got him. And it's like, all right, Justin, thank you for that tip.
I remember those videos.
He wasn't going anywhere near the TS-85s either. He knew everything.
Yeah,
but he did not escape that 330 set like that. That was so cool.
Yeah,
we got to shout out to our friend Tom Morlock, who's the one that
Tom Morlock showed me that.
He's the one that
he's been on the podcast as well. He's the beaver master, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and so that tip came from him, and it's a great tip. So and it goes against what everybody has in their mind about a body trap, but using it like a foot trap essentially. So
he wasn't getting out of it, man. I mean, what was interesting, like the possum, I don't think he knew he was trapped either. He was just sitting there chewing on a stick, chilling out. I mean, wow. Yeah,
he just knew he was stuck, but he continued on.
But I don't think he cared.
It's
amazing. There was no fight. He just kind of looked at me like, "Hey, what's up?" No tail slapping, and I'm like you guys. I want to get them dispatched quickly and efficiently. A lot of people say, "How can you do that? How can you do that?" Well, the reality is that it's a very humane thing. They don't know they're trapped. They don't understand it like we do.
Right.
I've seen coyotes caught in fences that those things suffered for however many days while it starved to death and couldn't get out of it and stuff like that. We check our traps every day, and that's integrity to me. I would never, ever, ever have a day where I didn't go check traps. It was no matter how crappy the weather was, it was like, no, that's the law. That's the law. And not only is it the law, it's the right thing to do. If you're respecting your animals, that's the right thing to do.
Right.
So
even if you didn't have the check law, that's the right thing to do. I would go do it.
Yeah, exactly. So how many times have you come up on a coyote in a trap and it's actually asleep? And of course, when you're coming up, he hears you and he wakes up. I don't know. They're obviously not realize they didn't get out, or they're going to lay down and sleep it off and figure out the problem will end when they wake up. I don't know, but clearly they're not stressed at that point, so.
Well, a lot of people are worried that they're in pain or what have you. And, like with archery hunting, doesn't the arrow hurt the deer? The deer doesn't have a clue. I mean, go watch deer fight in the rut. And if you want to see Mother Nature's cruelty, watch
Right.
that sometime.
Right.
Watch what happens when a deer gets gored and in the spine, and then that's it. And they've got no humane ways to exit that.
Right.
You know, so and I'm very sensitive to other people's questions. You know, a lot of people, oh, I'm a vegan. Well, you know, if you're a vegan, you're still being benefited by hunters because your crops are being grown on land that is controlled by somebody who's helping keep the population down and your prices down.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And you know, so and I think that you know, I used to get kind of um, I had a short fuse with people who, yeah, that's disgusting, man. You know, I don't have that short fuse anymore. I sit down and say, you know what? I understand that completely. I felt the same way when I first was exposed to it. I thought, oh, I don't know if I could do this. You know, it's like Jan down in Kentucky. I don't know if I could ever trap. Jan and Bert, you know, of course, those two are hooked on trapping.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't knock something till you learn about it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've said for years, you know, if you take a kid out and just take him with you and they see it firsthand, it's pretty darn likely that they will have a very positive experience, positive appreciation for it, and understand it, whether they take it up themselves or take it up for a short period of time and don't come back to it, they will have a positive understanding of it. So it's
well, my grandson Jake goes with me on the trap line, and now that I'm kind of older and a little more limited, I mean, my scar goes right from here all the way to the junction, and so I got a Ranger this year, so I'm kind of spoiled this year. I think my wife has been so sweet to me, but the Ranger has been a game changer for me because I'll still be able to get all the exercise, and I want to do all of that. But it will be helpful for longer trap lines along some of the other properties that I lease as well. And I just lost my train of thought because I was thinking I get to do that pretty soon. As soon as the doctor releases me, I get to go set traps.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah.
I gotta get some raccoons off of one of my leases because the turkeys are just now starting to come back. And I saw more raccoons on my trail cameras than deer for a while in October.
Oh, they are absolutely everywhere. So, you know, just taking over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take care of mine.
There you go. No, I'm with you on all that stuff. When I was first coming around this, I was in high school. I didn't know anything about trapping, and once I did learn and even go catch a beaver or two, I had to really sit there and go, okay, what does this all mean? How does this fit with me? Is this the right thing? Like, you know, all that stuff that you question. And after dissecting it, I'm like, this is totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, from all levels in my book. So.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Taking the kids out, right? So I take
sure.
Jake with me. Yeah. Jake goes on the line with me and he loves it. You know, it's like Christmas. He even told me that. He goes, Gramps, it's just like Christmas. Every time you come to a trap, and if you see something bouncing, it's something, and I got a possum one time. He carried that possum out, and he didn't want to let it go. I said, well, we're gonna find a place to put him so he can, have his rest now. And I mean, he knew he was dead, but we're gonna find a place to let him. I like to, if I'm gonna put something aside, I want it to at least be. I don't want to just toss it out. I don't feel right about that. I don't eat possum and I don't eat raccoons, but I will trap them and take them out of the biomass. But I want them to at least have a place to rest, for lack of a better way. I can't throw them out and just toss them in a creek. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
But yeah, Jake absolutely loves going out on the trap line.
I tell guys come in with their kids all the time and they're saying, hey, they take their kids out trapping. The kids love it. And it was the same with my Jake, who's now, bigger than me.
He's taller than all of us.
I know, he's giant. So yeah. Anyways, it was perfect because I could take him out, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, whatever. And he could he could run around, he could do whatever he wanted to do. He didn't necessarily have to be right there with me, but he could. I mean, I was obviously watching him, but
Sure.
he didn't have to be quiet. It was easier to keep him warm versus sitting in a blind or whatever. And
That's true. That's absolutely.
you can keep him going with you. When he was in, I think starting in second grade, maybe even first grade, we'd go to Kansas for like 7 or 8 days trapping. Took him out of school. We did that for 3 or 4 years, maybe a little bit longer. Anyways, he would just go the entire day. I mean, it wasn't like I was wearing him out just sitting in one place or whatever. So it's a perfect activity, if you want to call it that, for kids, young kids, because they just don't have to have the discipline to be quiet, sit still, and it's much easier to keep them warm. And there's changing scenery all the time. So
Yeah. Well, and Jake always likes to, get involved with it. I'll do the digging and stuff and show him all that. Boy, he loves getting them lures out. Oh gosh, Grant, this is terrible, and go right back to smelling it.
Yeah.
I remember one time I used to hold the caps in my mouth when I was, doing.
Buddy.
Yeah, I had the long distance, man, and the cap went right into my mouth on my car. It didn't taste bad. It just, my breath smelled like skunk for the rest of the day.
Probably the rest of the month or two.
Oh, I don't know, man. Linda wouldn't come near me. I mean, she's like, man, you need to put a mitt in that dumpster,
So what do you mean it did? What do you mean it didn't taste bad? It had to taste bad.
It didn't. It was bizarre. I'm like, well, that's weird. It smells absolutely horrible, but it doesn't taste bad.
It was so strong with the skunk that you just lost all sense of.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. It nuked my senses. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jake likes to get that out, and he likes to put the top dog into the hole, and and that's fun, because you get to see them feel proud, and when he'd run the trap line the next day, this is one I helped Gramp set, and so yeah, it's a great way to bond.
Yeah. How old is he?
He is 11 now.
11. Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Those will be great memories. 40 years from now, he'll be thinking back on that. And, I think back when I was first trapping and I was in junior high and high school and whatever. And those are like some of the best memories of your life. It's just,
Yeah, and you're right. And I would say that a good majority of my great memories are outdoors related. This year was probably the most challenging year of my life. I had a sigmoid colectomy in February, where they cut the diseased part out, and then the anastomose they put them back together and sew it. And the surgery was extremely successful. The doc who did the surgery is fantastic, great surgeon. But I got what we think was a burst diverticula, about 11 centimeters above it, and I didn't know it. He didn't know it. And then a week after surgery, I was getting my treatment for Crohn's disease, and I had never felt so sick. And I was like, what in the world's going on? So we went to the ER up at IU North, and I'll never forget it, because I'm like, I was sick. I was and I was bloated, and I was a week post-op. So I just figured, who knows? And the doc comes in. She goes, well, you don't really look too bad as bad as your CT scan looks. I said, what's going on? She goes, you got a perforated bowel. And I'm like, oh, God, you're going to sink an NG tube, aren't you? She goes, oh, yeah, you're going to be in the hospital for a few days. And I avoided sepsis, but I was close. But yeah, you ever had an NG tube?
No.
That's the tube they stick up your nose and it threads down into your stomach. Man, she got that thing in there, and as soon as she got it down to the place, I vomited. It looked like freaking exorcist puke. And so it was everywhere. And and that was a really tough moment for me, because most of the hospitalizations that I had when I was younger, by the time I was 16, I'd had about 20 surgeries, but I'd had a lot of surgeries afterward, and my addiction was pretty active, so I was pretty medicated through most of all of that stuff. And this time I'm not going back to that lifestyle. So I'm willing to take a lot more pain than I am willing to risk my recovery. So they put me in the hospital, and then I had to get a tube put in my side to drain all of that. And it's called an intraradiational drain. It had a big bag on it, and they sewed it to your gut, and it was miserable. And for the first time in my life, I really kind of hit this crossroads of, I might not live through this, And I remember being in the hospital, and I said, if I can, I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get out. If I can't hunt, I can maybe walk a trap line. Those things were the things that helped drive me. Linda, obviously my wife, she said, she goes, you have to fight like hell to get through this. You have to fight like hell. I need you, and that was inspiring. But man, I'll tell you, it was like, there were times when it was like, God, I don't know what the heck you want from me. I'm ready when you want. I'm ready anytime,
Right.
But it was like, okay, I know what I want. God's will for me is different sometimes than what I want, so I'm going to have to trust that. And I did eventually get well enough to be able to go to Iowa. I had to get a few more stitches added to that drain because I kept pulling the stitches out. So they put 3 in before I went to Iowa, and I popped most of them anyway. So, but they finally, we tried a couple of different things. I had surgery several times over the summer, and we just couldn't get this thing to close. And but I did my best to do all of the things I love to do during that time, and being outdoors drove me, right? And I didn't get the trap line this past year because I just wasn't healthy enough. I mean, it was really tough, but I did get a couple of hunts in, and I did some things like that. So once in October, I was doing my depredation thing that I usually do every year. And I talked to the doc, and I said, we've tried these clips endoscopically. They didn't work. I said, is there any way I can talk you into opening me up one more time and give it another try? He goes, I think enough time's gone by to where I think we can probably get that taken care of. And then that's what he did 4 weeks ago. And, but I credit the outdoor lifestyle and trapping in particular, because again, it's that whole exercise, working, the constant, you got to do it every day, no matter how you feel. It kept things free within that structure for me. And I think that's what kept my attitude and my mood upbeat during this year. Because I thought, if I can at least get back outdoors, I tried not to negotiate with God. That's a bad idea. But I just think, if it's your will for me, I want to do what I can, and I'm just elated right now because I'm normal for the first time, really honestly, in 59 years. I mean,
that's awesome. Yeah,
it really is. And I still have issues, and I'll have to deal with those. But you know what, man, those are small problems compared. Mm-hmm. And and again, I think that's when you said, let's do the podcast this week, I said, oh my gosh, what a perfect week to do it, because I am chomping at the bit to get out there, And so I'll be getting out.
When do you think you could actually maybe put some traps out?
I see the doctor on Friday, and if he says you can go trap with your Ranger, I'm getting out the Ranger, and I'm going to go trapping. Yep.
Cool. So
it could be as soon as this weekend.
Keep our fingers crossed. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'll know it because I'll be calling you. How many times I used to call, Charlie, I got another coyote today.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how something so simple like that can do so much for a soul?
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
I think about that. I'm like, you get so fired up and excited that you achieve this thing that you've set out to do. And granted, that's a hard thing to get a coyote to step in a little 2-inch circle or whatever.
Or a fox.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like somebody that's not an outdoorsman at all would just be like, what a waste of time. Why would you want to go out and spend all that time doing that?
Oh, I know. It's like when we watch when Linda will watch the guys sometime, and they'll be all excited about a deer or a turkey. Well, you know how we are about turkeys. We're all jumping on each other like a bunch of freaking frat house boys, and she's like, "What is wrong with you men?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't understand, man. It's what is right about it, man. This is all right."
And you're talking about the hunting the public guys.
The hunting public.
Hunting
Yep,
public.
yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron and Zach and Nick and Greg and Ted and Jake.
So how long have you been helping those guys with music and etc.?
Well, I started with Midwest Whitetail, and then Warb and Greg. Well, Greg actually came on board. So, and I ended up writing a lot of music specific to Greg, right? And then Warb, when he came on, he started doing Cabela's Spring Thunder, and so I started tailoring songs to him, And then when they went off on their own, we were actually in my kitchen when Warb was telling me about it. He's like, "I think we're going to go ahead and do our own thing," because they were here for the ATA, and they all stayed with me, and I said, "You will never, ever, ever be unhappy that you chose that path, if that's the path that you feel you need to be on."
Yeah.
And because even if it's a failure, it's going to be something better than what you feel you got right now, where you feel limited on what you can, do as an employee versus as the guy who's doing his thing.
Right.
And anyway, so when they left with Zach and Jake, I was like, I don't write for anybody but you guys now. I mean, I've been writing just for you guys for the last several years. I mean, Winky's not going to care, and he didn't. He was wondering where I went. I was like, I'm going to keep writing for these guys, and it's been great, and I appreciate it. I mean, Winky started a lot of good outdoor careers for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and then when Nick came aboard, I started writing songs that he liked. So the challenge is meeting these different thoughts that each one has. Ted loves bluegrass and Texas, rock and stuff like that. And Nick loves the violin. Greg loves epic things. Warb likes. He's probably the most eclectic. I think he loves everything I do. I think because he's nice. Oh, that's great. He's just being nice. But I don't send them something I don't think they're gonna like. I won't even mix something that somebody doesn't like. If I'm not proud of it, it doesn't leave the studio.
Yeah.
Actually, if I'm not proud of it, it never gets recorded. It just dies and moves on. And if it shows up another time, that's fine. So and then I started writing for Shane Simpson and Catman and you guys and Pinhoti Project. So that's Dave Owens. And any shows that I loved, I offered music to, and everybody. I'm surprised at the amount of people that want my music. I mean, I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. It's like, well, that's awfully nice. And I think that definitely inspired me to do this upgrade. But I also love the challenge of, can I make something that sounds as good as any record that's out there? Well, gosh, I'm aging myself. As any MP3, no, whatever, any file that's out there. And the answer is, I believe I can, but now I've got the gear to do it.
Yeah.
So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love how
music's always going through my head when I'm doing all this.
Yeah. I just love how you made it all encompass. It's all full circle for you.
Yeah.
Bringing the music into the outdoor world and switching it around and doing all that. And it's just.
And really even.
That's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. And even your addiction issues, you went on to help those with the same problems.
Oh yeah, I still do. I mean, I do volunteer work for nurses now. God's been very good to me financially, so that's not an issue for me today. And to be able to help these nurses, because without good nursing care, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I did some work with physicians, but physicians aren't as challenging as nurses. Physicians, all you got to do is hold their license over their head, and they'll either do it or they won't, because their egos are like that. Nurses have a different thought process and a different shame process that's harder to treat, and I like that challenge because I lived that life, and it's fun to see somebody come out on the other side and have a great life. And
yeah.
So I actually just met with my former boss today. We had lunch today, And I said, and he's still seeing, some patients here and there. And I've got about 80 nurses that I see on a weekly basis. Um, some are live and some are on Zoom. And I said, we're never going to quit, are we? We're going to be therapists for life. He goes, absolutely. We're going to be therapists all the way up until they put us in a pine box.
Yeah.
And I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
I certainly get the batteries charged with all the outdoor fun that we get to have.
That's great.
So back in the day, when you in the early '90s and you touring and you're with other musicians, was there ever talk about the outdoors? Were other ones interested in that at all?
What's really sad? My memory is a little hazy because that's when my addiction was peaked.
Okay.
So the only thing I gave a crap about was getting on the bus and getting perks, getting
Okay.
perks. And then women. That was pretty much all it was. I honestly
definitely a rock star lifestyle.
Oh God, it was awful. I mean, dude, checking to see if she's around. It was fun. I have no regrets, but I wouldn't want to go back to that for anything. But I'll tell you what. Yes, when we did the Moody Blues tour, one of the the road crew, the Moody Blues were fantastic to us. The road crew was fantastic. One of the road crew had his Harley on one of the big rigs, and he used to take it out and go ride. And he offered me a ride one day. I said, I'd love to go. And we're all over the plains of Kansas. It was gorgeous. And I said, I really miss this. And that's when I moved to Bloomington. And then that was when I started kind of getting into it again. That's when I shot that deer.
Okay.
It was towards the end of that music career. But no, I can't say that we ever. I think the band liked to golf, and I would rather eat glass than golf. Nothing against golfers. I just think, oh my God, all that beautiful woods and land, and now it's this. Everybody says it's so beautiful outdoors. The golf course is not outdoors. That is a well-groomed area. You need to go somewhere where you aren't sure you're going to get out without getting growled at by some animal that you're going to crap your pants when you hear it. Listen to a couple of coons fighting one night when it's dark, and that'll kind of put the scare into you,
Yeah.
But
No, we're on the same page with the golfing stuff.
I've used that as a reference before. I'll be doing a demo and I'll say, if you can't see this location right here, you might as well take up golf. It's just
Although I will say the same types of frustrations that I hear from golfers sometimes comes into me when I'm out there in the traffic.
Yeah, that's true. We all have and that's true too. So whatever you strive to do, you obviously want to do well. And if you're not meeting up to what you think you should be, it gets frustrating.
Yeah,
it can.
And that's to me when I learn the most too. Because
Sure.
if I go out there and set traps and I'm out there, oh, look at that, man, I got 20 coyotes today. And, but boy, when I got my first cat in Kentucky, it was like, I specifically set that cat. I called you up. I said, what do you think I should use for alert? Oh, definitely use the cat. It was not cat carnage. What is it?
Finicky feline.
Yeah, finicky feline. Coyote carnage is the one that I often use. And then I got my jet fuel. And then I got this. And it's like, you're doing all these recipes, and I'm terrible. I don't take notes on what gets them. I should probably, but it's that's the beauty of it. It's just like hunting. It's sometimes you go out and you see and you harvest, and other times you go out and you don't see a thing. And and the reality is, I have just as much fun on those hunts, because you might see a hawk that thinks your face is a squirrel, and it comes getting ready to land on it and realizes you're not anymore. Those memories go with you forever too.
Sure.
I'd like to set a dirt hole set right there on the green of the golf course and catch a coyote and just have that big nasty catch circle just tear that beautiful green up.
Do that with a badger, even better.
Oh yeah, dig it up. Yeah.
Man, I saw your badger video the other day. I cannot get over how far those things dig. I'm surprised he didn't pull that thing out.
If they would
It's
dig in the
remarkable.
center, it would be all over. But they
But
always
they don't
go
dig in the center.
as far out as they can and then dig. So
Wow. See, I just learned something new tonight.
yeah, they always
It blows me away.
if they would dig where the stake was, we would never hold one. But we've never lost one because they always dig as far out as they can get. So
That is crazy. Because I remember watching that. I'm like, man, it's a good thing that he dug where he dug. Otherwise, Justin wouldn't have gotten that thing.
Yeah, it's wild.
we had 2 or 3 last year that we caught. I think we caught 5 total last year in Texas. So we had a couple of them that we caught basically right on the ranch road. So we were like pushing dirt back in the, back where it was supposed to be because the guys taking their trucks and etc. on the ranch road. We're gonna have this big crater there because the badgers are so digging crazy. It's unbelievable what they can do with a trap on 1 foot.
Oh, I know. It's like it looked like an other planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're digging craters for sure. So
I got a question for you guys that I've always wanted to ask and never did. What's been your favorite animal and your favorite trapping experience?
Ooh, good question.
So I can tell you my favorite trapping experience in all our experiences, and we've had lots of really, really good ones, was probably the first red fox I caught when I was, can't remember if I was a freshman or a sophomore, and freshman, I believe. And that one just, I caught a gray fox first, but then, and that was a really big deal. But then when I caught my first red fox, it was like, and I remember that very, very specifically and very, very well. That's probably right up there, and we've had so many experiences in lots of states and lots of critters and
Yeah, it's hard to just pick
yeah,
one.
it's hard to pick one, but that
I
one
know
always,
it's impossible. It's like trying to say which one's your favorite deer mount. Every one of them is.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I always like to ask that because what's the first thing that comes to mind? Because my red fox came to mind too.
Yeah.
But I would have
Yeah,
to
I
say,
think
go ahead, Justin.
all of your first animal, those all stick out.
Right.
First beaver's first animal I ever trapped.
Really? Did you
Yeah.
foothold him or did you do a body trap?
Both. I ended up catching 2. One was in a 330 and one was on an MB 750. And heck, it's still a pillow at home on the couch. I made a pillow out of it.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, all the first catches, first coyote around here, and then first time going to Arkansas and catching a bobcat, I was really feeling like a mountain man down there.
Right.
But yeah, I think my favorite animal to target though would be coyote. I love trapping coyotes.
There's something special about them.
Yeah.
I my first thought was the red fox. My first red fox. It was pretty exciting because I'd been wanting to trap one for a while, and when I finally got one, it was pretty amazing. And I had literally just set the trap and continued down the trap line when I heard, and I'm like, oh, there's another fox. And I went back to the trap, and he stepped in the trap that I had just taken out. So I caught 2 foxes my first time I ever caught a fox.
Oh my God.
And the second fox while I was continuing down the trap line.
That's
And,
crazy.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that part of it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. And then, but I would say one of my favorite moments was when Jan and Bert and I got my first cat, because Jan, and that's what hooked Jan. That's the thing that I loved, because she was like, I don't know, and we got to that cat, and she's like, oh my gosh, so excited. Bert's he's always, well, he is Brent, but I call him Bert, and he's always real even keeled. But boy, you can tell when he gets excited because he just gets this kind of look on his face, and he is now a trapping fool. And I think that's the other thing I love about it is the fellowship that goes with it too, because you meet some really amazing people. I mean, totally. It's like, I'm a hillbilly, but we're not a bunch of hillbillies, but you know what I mean? It's like everybody's got it's so funny because you know you have the stereotypical view. I mean, people think people don't look well. They might look at me and think cocaine addict or meth addict, but you know, they wouldn't think opiates or alcohol. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like, no, man, we're all different, and that's to me that's real exciting.
Yeah. It is very diverse group, you know, and a few years ago, this woman brings her son in and, because he was interested in trapping and she's trying to, you know, help him along with his interest in getting him equipment and et cetera. And they ended up coming in regularly for several years. But the first time or two she came in, she says, I just can't get over that. I come in here and you don't have this big long beard and you're, you know, and you can explain things, et cetera. And it was like,
You
you know,
speak
I just,
normally.
yeah, I just can't get past that. It's like,
Well, next time you get that beard and say, "Hey, you got some over back there."
yeah.
I don't know why we always go to an immediate Southern accent, but I'll tell you what, when I'm in Mississippi, I feel like I belong.
Well, there's something to be said. You spend enough time in the South. I've noticed, like, when I've gone trips or whatever, family or hunting or trapping, or come back, I'm talking different. Just in that short amount of time, I'm like trying to like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think I mean, I'm Irish by heritage, and I'm usually up. I mean, I prefer to be up all night and sleep all day. But psychiatrically, I don't like it. So I don't live that way. But boy, I get down to the South and I feel very at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I got to go trapping with you guys out of state one of these days.
Well, sure.
Now that it looks like I'm going to be able to, now that we got me closed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, though, once you do get out there in the next couple of weeks or so, call me.
Oh, cool.
This weekend, I might come run out with you.
That'd be
Run
great.
the line.
Yeah, man, we'll stick the Ranger. I'll get some traps set in a couple places in Clay County and Putnam County, and we'll put that Ranger to work.
Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've been so busy at work, we can't get out as much. And I've been wanting to put a couple traps out around here, but we went with Matt and Jared, which we've been showing their footage, and we'll run with you maybe and scratch that itch until we get out of here and go to Texas finally. So
Yeah.
Man, heaven on earth, man.
it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's very cool and we ran in the same thing in Arkansas, but that was public ground. And it in very, very very little contact with others on that because of the time of year we went or whatever. But on this Texas ranch, it's bigger than the county we live in, and it's and you can just go and it's just like it's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
And in the lifestyle, and you know, people think cowboys are a thing of the past. They're not. I mean, it's just crazy. It's a whole nother world and lifestyle that most of us back here in the East have no idea that exists. You know,
Yeah, well, I mean, Greg moved out to South Dakota, and it's a whole new world. If you watch some of Greg's hunts on the hunting public, it's amazing. I can't wait to go out there. I mean, like I said, this last year has been a challenge because I just had to kind of be in a holding pattern. But I think now that I'm a little bit more free, and as soon as, like I said, as soon as Doc says I can start doing stuff, I'm not gonna push it because I do not ever want to have to go through another.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But as soon as he says you're good to go, I'm gonna be going to good. So it'll be fun.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for spending the evening with us and chatting.
That was
anything else you want to throw in there before we sign off?
Nah, you guys gonna have to come over to the studio when I get it all. I mean, everything's running now. Everything's 100% running, and so now I got to learn a few things about. It's changed my creative flow completely. So it's going to be interesting. But I'm going to start recording this week and get a couple tunes out. And we got the grandkids coming in from Georgia, and so we're going to have Christmas all together. And
Awesome.
Once that kind of goes behind us, then we have to have a little tour. Maybe when you come up to go on the trap line with me, because I'm going to set. We'll get something. It ain't going to be like I usually do it, but it's going to be. We're going to have something going.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sounds good.
Yep. Sure
All right,
wants
Charlie.
to meet everybody tonight, man. This is great. I can smell the shop right now.
Yep.
I
Back
left.
here and
I got my new mount that back here. Oh, look at that gorgeous deer! And he,
You want to show your studio off while you're doing that?
sure, I can. There's my keyboards and my guitars back here. I
got
just
the
like everything
assembly
to be
line.
right within reach. And the new stuff is, well, the computer, it's down there. I'm using my old Mac right now. And then the real meat and potatoes is right here in the rack. It's an SSL mix bus, and then the Pro Tools itself. And then on top is a Neve channel strip. And it's, we cut a lot of my record on Neve and API stuff. And Neve just sounds, it's just amazing. It's the difference between driving on a foggy day and driving on a sunny day. I don't know how else. Yeah, it's how, I mean, sonically, it's just unbelievable. So I'll be able to do things. I mean, right now my system is bigger than anything that I know what to do with, so it's going to take me some time to learn it. But that's the fun. I mean, I'm as excited about getting started and making some new tunes as I was the very first multi-track studio that I had.
Yeah.
When in 1984. Yeah, because I got my record deal. I made my demos with Terry Brown from Rush in 1988, and then got my record deal in 86. I did that, and that was with John's original band, Kenny Aronoff, Toby Myers, John Casella, and me. And I actually have those recordings from David Leonard took them from the 24 track and put them on Pro Tools for me, so I could actually recall that session we did right here.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
So did you play with John Mellencamp? You did, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly in the studio. We did some shows with him over time, but violin, vocals, some guitar, but violin and vocals were kind of my main contribution. And John has been so good to me. I mean, he has a reputation of being kind of grumpy, and he's got his moments. I mean, don't we all? But he has been very, very good to me, and I've always been appreciative of that.
Yeah. A regular Bloomington native.
That's it. Well, Seymour native, but yeah, he's
Seymour. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's Indiana's his home, and I commend him for that, because I don't ever want to leave the state. I love Indiana.
Yeah.
There's lots of places to live, and this is the best one.
What? Well, he just got a statue on IU campus. So.
Oh, did he really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So out of the loop.
Yeah. He probably back when you were going through all of that a couple months ago.
Okay.
And they did a little concert down there on the campus. I want to say back in September, maybe. So, anyways, so he has his
I knew
own
something
statue.
was going on there. Yeah, I hadn't talked to him for a while, so I knew something was going on, but I didn't know exactly what that was. I'm gonna have to go look at that statue, desecrate it.
Paint it up or
paint it up a little bit, paint it pink or something.
Just the riser was here. I was like, oh,
that's well, it's like here.
I'm gonna go put a coonskin cap on it.
There you go.
Thing to do.
That's like Benjamin Franklin on Franklin College. He's always getting painted up or something. So,
Oh, is he really? Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, man, I
All
sure
right.
appreciate hanging with y'all tonight. This is fun.
Same. We'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. I'll be at the shop soon.
All right, Jim.
all right. We'll see you.
Thank you.